Republicans finishing out 2017 with a critical win on tax reform. The next big challenge, though, right around the corner. The Republican Party bracing for quite a battle in the 2018 midterms. History shows not necessarily on their side. My next guest says his party may very likely lose their majority. Joining me now, Republican Congressman Tom Cole of Oklahoma. Nice to have you here. Happy holidays. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you. You bet. Great to be with you.
So, as you know, 27 of your Republican colleagues in Congress are not seeking re-election next year. That's compared to 15 Democrats. Your outlook for the party, in your own words, is this: they're running with the wind in their face. It is not a normal breeze. It is a hurricane-force wind. So what could turn things around for them in the midterms?
Well, I think, first of all, we took a giant step in the right direction by passing tax reform. When the American people give you a majority, control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they expect you to do something with it. And while I think we had a lot of, sort of minor wins, maybe not minor, but important wins on things like veterans' health care and things like human trafficking that were bipartisan, deregulation, the courts, we needed a really big win. And I think we got one in December, and I think over time that'll help us a great deal. But look, no one's had a good midterm since 2002, and I think you're whistling past the political graveyard if you think you're going to escape that kind of challenging environment.
And also just look at, President Obama, and just look at getting Obamacare through, Dodd-Frank stimulus through, and that those sort of legislative wins did not produce electoral wins for Democrats in the midterms following. You've said if you need a wake-up call after Virginia, New Jersey, and Alabama, you are really deep asleep. A message to your own party.
Yeah, I probably should have said you're in a coma.
Okay, there you go. You just said it. But do you think the president could help? I mean, could the president help,
I do.
Though? So what does he need to do?
No, I think that, look, well, first of all, I think the president has helped. I think the fact that he's celebrating Republican victories at the end of the year, yeah, I do. I think that's very important. And we have to help ourselves. Look, we failed on Obamacare. The president didn't. We literally fumbled on the 1-yard line in the United States Senate. So we got to keep racking up victories. We got to convince the other side is already mobilized and energized. Not much you can do to change that. So you have to give your own people incentive to go out and vote. I think we did that in December, but we need to continue on that track. And frankly, then we need to work with the Democrats where we can on things like infrastructure.
And we'll get to that in just a moment. But just to be clear here, I mean, you say we as a party failed on Obamacare. The president says in just the past few days, his words, you won on Obamacare. He calls this a full repeal of Obamacare, what's included in tax reform, which it is not. It's just repealing, the individual mandate, forcing people to buy it. But he thinks you won. Is he wrong?
Well, I would say we had a partial victory in the sense of getting rid of the individual mandate, which frankly mostly falls on people that make less than $50,000 a year being fined because they don't want to buy a product that they can't afford and don't, think benefits
Yeah, it also
them.
drives premiums
I think
up 10%, though. You know that.
Well, you really want to, well, look, I think people ought to have the choice to buy the products that they want to. I think that's an onerous use of government power in a case like this. So let's let individuals make that decision. We didn't take anything away from anybody that's getting a subsidy. They still will continue to do that. But again, it's still a partial repeal. It's not a full repeal. And it was pretty high profile when we failed in the United States Senate. So I think we undid some of that toward the end of the year. I think we're in a good place now. But look, I don't underestimate what that cost us. We'd run on that issue for 3 election cycles. That had been very good for us, and we had a chance to fix it. We didn't get it done.
So on infrastructure, you say you're open to working with Democrats on infrastructure. This should be, if you look at it sort of from a bird's eye view, something where Democrats and Republicans can come together. The real devil is in the details, and that's in how you're going to pay for it, how much money is going to be put forward. You don't like adding to the national debt. You were clear about that, even voting for tax reform. Any way you slice it, infrastructure spending is going to add even more to the national debt. Can you stomach that?
Well, it depends on whether or not, well, look, we have to see the plan first. The president's going to release his plan about mid-January, maybe a little bit sooner. I think that's where you start. But if you want to negotiate on infrastructure, then you need to leave it open for the other side to put other ideas on the table and see where you can incorporate them.
But
I think
more debt is okay? I mean, I thought the Republican Party was the party of let's not add to the debt and deficit in this country.
It depends on, frankly, look, there will be measures to pay for at least part of this. And it's sort of like when you buy your house. You go into debt when you buy a house, but you have the house. When you're purchasing infrastructure, you have something for it that has a long lifespan. We're still using an interstate highway system that was built essentially in the 1950s and 60s. So, and it's paid off for America. That was a great investment. But again, let's wait and see what's there. Let's see how open the two sides are to working with one another in an election year.
Let me get some clarity from you. You did an interview recently on MSNBC, and you talked about Russia and the Russian election meddling. And, on the one hand, you were very supportive of the sanctions that were passed against Russia back in August that the president sort of begrudgingly signed. But then you also said this recently about Russia's election meddling. You called it pretty, quote, routine. And you said that we should not, quote, hyperventilate over this. Really? I mean,
well,
not
look,
too concerned?
People have been. No, I'm always concerned, but people have been intervening in American elections since the 1790s. The first people that did it were the French. And if we think the Russians haven't tried to influence American elections in the past, we're naive. And frankly, if we think we don't try to influence transfers of power in other countries, we're pretty naive. So it's part of international relations. The real question is, did it have much impact? I don't think so. I think really,
why
what
is that the
happened,
real question? Hold on. It seems like you're saying this is par for the course. This is okay. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say it's okay. It is par for the course. Do you think other countries don't try to influence what we do in elections? President Obama went to Great Britain. President Obama went to Great Britain and told them they were going to the back of the line if they passed Brexit. So, again, I think you got to be realistic about this. People try to do it, but I think this system is very difficult to influence from the outside. It's open, it's transparent, involves tens of millions of people.
There was a widespread disinformation campaign, as you know, Congressman, on many fronts, social media, et cetera, something that was so concerning to the U.S. intelligence community that it sparked that January 6th intelligence report from a year ago that I know you read as well. That does not seem like par for the course.
Well, look, there are new techniques, but again, the Russians always try to impact American elections. We try to impact what happens in other countries. Again, President Obama did that. So it's not unusual in international affairs. Countries have an interest in the outcome of elections in other countries. So, again, I think you accept it, you guard against it, you deal with it. I don't have any problem with ringing the alarm bell about it, but I don't see any evidence that it changed the outcome of the American election.
I'm not sure it is analogous to Brexit, your Obama comparison, but we do have to leave it there. You'll be back, Congressman. Appreciate it, and enjoy the new year.